Hello good people, welcome to Good Things Fashion Tutorial. In this video, we are going to learn how to make a simple A-line gown. A simple A-line gown, and with me here is a 4 yards of African print fabric, 4 yards of Ankara fabric to achieve that. And the first thing we need to do is to fold our fabric into four. You fold it over vertically, then the next thing is to fold it over horizontally in this manner. And in folding it over horizontally, you use the largest part of your body, the largest size of your body plus 6 inches sewing allowance after dividing it by into four. For me, it was my hips 48 inches and I divided it by 4. It gave me 12 inches plus 6 inches sewing allowance. That is 18 inches. And that's how I folded this that we are seeing on the table. This is me marking my shoulder measurement. The first thing is to mark the shoulder measurement and also my armhole depth. This is me marking my armhole depth. And then the next thing is to mark out my bust measurement on the armhole depth, bust measurement plus 2 inches sewing and ease allowance. The gown is going to be a bit free. It's an A line gown. It's not going to have a zip. I'm not going to put a zip at the back because it's like a cone. It's going to be easy to wear. So I added 2 inches ease and sewing allowance to the bust width. Now this is me confirming the shoulder measurement on the bust line, which is 8 inches for my shoulder. This is in order for me to be able to join the shoulder to the bust line to draw the shoulder depth, so to draw the armhole depth, and that is what I just did. The next thing is to measure from my shoulder to my hips. Measure from my shoulder to my hips, which is 29 inches from my shoulder to my hips. I measure it on two sides in order for me to have an accurate straight line. And this is me drawing the horizontal line for my hips line. After that, the next thing is to measure from my shoulder to my gown length to the hem of the gown. My gown length is 54 inches. I measure it and mark it on two sides in order to have straight horizontal line for the hem of my gown. I draw my horizontal line for the hem of my gown. I note that I added 1 inch sewing allowance, 1 inch hemming allowance to the hem of the gown. My gown length is 54 inches plus 1 inch hemming allowance, that's 55 inches. Now the next thing is to determine the midpoint of my armhole depth, and that's what I mark the middle of my armhole depth, and also to mark my shoulder slant, which is 1 inch from my shoulder down the armhole depth. I also mark out my neck width, which is 4 inches by the depth, which I decided to use 5 inches by 4 inches. I'm making a round neck, and this is me drawing the neck, the round neck line. You can decide to use any neck design that you prefer. And this is me joining my neckline uh, to the shoulder depth. Now, after confirming the middle of my armhole depth like this, the next thing is to draw my armhole curve. And this is me drawing my armhole curve. If you have a French curve, you can decide to use it, but I have decided to use my free hand, and this is me drawing my armhole curve in this manner. After that, the next thing is to mark out my hips width. the hips of the size of my hips, which is 48 inches divided by 4, which gives me 12 inches plus 2 inches ease and join and sewing allowance. My hips divided by 4 plus 2 inches ease and joining allowance. Since this is a free gown, it's not going to have a zip at the back, so it has to be a bit loose. That's why I added 2 inches ease and joining allowance. Also at the hem of the gown, I transfer my hips measurement, which is 48 inches divided by 4, and now added 6 inches ease allowance, ease and joining allowance for the for my leg easy movement, for us to be able to stretch our leg as far as possible, since the gown does not have a slit at the back. So the standard is to add 6 inches allowance to the hem of the gown for a line gown. After doing joining that, then the next thing is to join the all my measurement from the bust to the hips and to the hem of the gown in this manner. You draw a slant line joining all the measurements from the bust to the hips to the hem of the gown, to that 6 inch uh, point at the hem of the gown. Make sure your line is straight from the bust. Now the next thing is to cut out my gown. You can decide to use a shorter length for your neck length at the back, but I've decided to use the same length for both my front and back of the gown because I wear hijab which covers my back and my front, and I live in a tropical climate with a lot of heat. Then you can decide to use a shorter length at the back of your neck or any design that you prefer. If you decide to use a smaller neck, note that you must have your head must be able to pass through the neck of the gown. It's either you had a zip or you had a slit at the front of your or of the gown. You can add a slit at the front of the gown in a kimono style, or you put a zip at the back in order for your head to pass through the neck of the gown. Depend on what you want. Now, this is me after cutting out the gown. This is what we have. This is what we have after cutting out the entire gown. Now, at the hem of the gown, you can decide to go up by 1 inch at the two edges, or at the two side edges, in order for the hem of the gown not to be touching the floor. You can go up by 1 inch and draw a slant like so. Draw a gentle slant like this and trim it off. You trim it off in this manner. Now I decided to remove the inner part of the gown to in order to work on the front of the gown, because what I have here is the front and the back of the gown, and they are the same, but I need to make some difference on the front of the gown. And after removing one of the fabric, this is what I have here to make the front of the gown. I decided to go in by 0.5 inches at the middle of the armhole depth. This is me confirming the middle of the armhole depth again. Then go in by 0.5 inches at that midpoint, and then draw a slant from the shoulder point, passing through that 0.5 inches. You go in by 0.5 inches at the middle of the armhole depth, and then you trim it out. Note that that measurement only affects the middle of the armhole depth, not the entire armhole depth. So the next thing is to carefully trim it out, and that is what we have. Now this is me marking my the fabric with letter F in order for me to recognize it as the front of the gown that I made an alteration on. Now I decided to I decided to go down by 2 inches at the front of my gown neckline. You know, I use 5 inches for both the front and the back line of my neck. I decided to go down by 2 inches more at the front of the gown, the neck line at the front of the gown. And after marking it out, that's what I'm doing, cutting it out, making my neck length in the front to be 7 inches and the neck width to be 4 inches, while the back is neck depth 5 inches and neck width 4 inches. Now the next thing is to make my sleeve for the gown. And if you need help with constructing a basic sleeve accurately, you can check inside this channel. I have a video tutorial that explains all the nitty-gritty of constructing a basic sleeve accurately. You can do that by clicking on the logo of my channel under this video. Click on my logo. It will take you into the channel. You can check out the video on how to construct a basic sleeve, and it will explain to you all that you need to know about accurately making a basic sleeve. Now, after making the two sleeve, this is what I have. Now, this I cut out two strips of fabric. It will depend on the length will depend on your preferred length for your sleeve. Taking into consideration the main body of the sleeve, I'm going to use this fabric strips to make a gathers at the hem of the sleeve in order to make a pleat to pleat it at the hem of the sleeve. Now the next thing is to take my bias tape and sew it around the circumference of my neck, the neck of the gown. This is the bias tape. You open it up and sew it around the neckline, which I've already done. After sewing it, this is what I have. You start sewing it from the right side. You open the basket, sew it from the right side. After sewing it, then you turn it inside and also sew it down, and this is what you will have. It's going to be like this. I sewed it on the front of the fabric of the gown and also at the back of the gown. Now the next thing is to join the two shoulder of the gown. That's the next thing. I'll go to my sewing machine and join in order to make the pleated fabric, to pleat it to the hem of my sleeve. The first thing is to notch the edge of the sleeve at the back, at the hem, the middle of the sleeve. You notch it and also notch the top of the sleeve where you are going to join it to the shoulder. Then also the strip of fabric, determine the midpoint of it and also notch it. The midpoint of it where you are going to join it to the hem of the sleeve, notch it. Now the next thing is to open up the sleeve, open it up in this manner, and also take one of the strip of fabric that I cut and also and match it right side facing each other, match it notch to notch. The two places where I notch, you match them together, and the fabric right side facing each other, the right side of the sleeve and the right side of the strip of fabric facing each other. Then I use my office pin to hold them together. I also do them with the other sleeve. Now after joining the middle with my office pin, I will also take the two extreme edge of the strip of fabric and hold them down to the edge of the sleeve with office pin in this manner, in order for me to be able to gauge the pleatings I'm going to be making on the sleeve. It's going to look something like this. Then I'll go to my sewing machine and begin to pleat from the middle. I'll pleat them down until I finish using the strip of fabric. Note that I cut the strip of fabric to be twice the width of my sleeve length at the hem of the sleeve. If you have enough fabric, you can make it three times the width, and in which case you can make your pleatings to be close together. But because I use twice the length of my sleeve, I decided to put space in between the pleatings in order for the pleatings to be evenly spread and for the fabric to be enough for the pleating. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm pleating it, leaving a bit of space in between, not piling the pleatings on top of each other. If you can make your fabric to be three times longer, three times the length of your sleeve hem, then you can make a tight pleating, fuller pleating that will be more fuller than what I'm doing. So you continue to pleat until you exhaust those excess fabric on the sleeve, until you get to that place where I pin down at the edge of the sleeve. I will also do the same thing to the other side. Note that I started at the middle. I started pleating from the middle. Now this is me pleating the other side of the sleeve. You also begin to pleat following the pattern you made earlier on. After pleating the fabric to the sleeve, this is what we have here. This is what I have. And the next thing is to hem the edge of the fabric. I will hem the lower side of the fabric. This is the this is what we have. This is the finished uh, pleating. I also did the same to the other sleeve. Now the next thing is to join our sleeve to our gown. We are going to join it use at the middle uh, of the sleeve at the place where we notch earlier on to the shoulder joining. After joining it, we also do the same to the other side. We take the middle of the sleeve, the middle part of the upper part of the sleeve, and right side facing each other, place it on the joint part of this shoulder, and after and sew it down. I also decided to join the two sides of the gown and to hem it at the edges, at the down part, and to finish off the sewing. And this is what I have after joining the fabric. I joined the fabric from the sleeve down to the side of the I joined the gown from the underside of the sleeves to the side of the gown down the entire length, and also I hem the fabric at the lower part, and that marks the end of the sewing project. Thank you very much. Please subscribe.